Hello and welcome back. I'm super glad that you guys decided to join us today. I am just going to start our first blog off with our first topic, which is poverty. Um, Throughout my research, I've learned tons of things about poverty and how to teach poverty in the classroom. So I'm just going to go over a few defining factors with you. So poverty refers to the lack of basic human needs, and it's faced by individuals, families, societies, countries. Um, so, um, Basic human needs is food, water, clothing, shelter, anything that you can access with very little, you know, um, need. But other people have a very hard time accessing it. Poverty is a multifaceted concept, and it includes social, economic, and political elements. So, absolute poverty, extreme poverty, refers to the complete lack of the means. Um, so, when I'm addressing this in a classroom, I want to make sure that I find where the student's baseline is. So you could do that as a class, you could do that individually, it could be a writing prompt. So you could start with reading a book. You can ask them what they got out of the book. So for kindergarten and grade one, you could have conversation based learning. So you could ask them, what is poverty? And some kids might say, I don't know, I don't even know what that word means. Some kids might know and might have personal experiences or family experiences with this type of stuff. So we have to make sure that we're dealing with it appropriately so that we come in unbiased, very level headed, and that we deal with any questions in an appropriate way. So I've also put down um, a resource for you as the teacher, how to respond to questions that might not be appropriate, or how to revert their attention back to the topic at hand. So a very grade 1, grade 2 definition for me would be poverty means not having enough money. Um, Poverty means not having enough money for basic things that mom and dad provide for you. So, food, drinking water, shelter, or toilets, or the clothes or new shoes. So, um, really get them to feel when you're talking about poverty, and then allow them to know that it's right here. Some people we might see in our own lives are dealing with poverty, and um, here's what we can do about it. So, it's always very important to tell them what it is, and then tell them how they can help. We're creating an active citizen in this world, so we're trying to create a student that knows what they're doing when they leave our classroom. So we want to equip them with all the tools and all the knowledge in this schema possible to allow them to go out into the world and be active citizens. So it's very important that you address poverty um, in an inclusive way. So there's different types of social economic statuses, and that's a big word, and I know that sometimes we can't use that word in our classrooms because our students simply won't understand it. So what I like to start with is that students, um, when they go home, they can have a snack. They can um, have some fun. They can watch TV. They can allow themselves to go out with their friends and not worry about um, mom and dad worrying about them, or having to come home and help pick stuff up for dinner, um, and knowing what they're going to eat when they go home. So some students, you'll learn that they come in and they just grab all of the granola bars out of the snack bin, or keep apples for later, and the immediate response is to say, hey, put that back in there. You are only allowed to have one, but maybe this kid, other student, has come and he has a granola bar already and he took one out of the snack bin. And yes, um, maybe the one student that's taking more than one is taking it home for their mom because they don't know, what they're gonna have for dinner, or they're saving it for later when their mom can't buy them snacks. So it's really important to understand your classroom dynamic when it comes to poverty and addressing global issues. So one thing that I really like to do is just read, introduce the aspect of reading to learn. So when you're reading to learn about poverty, you are allowing students to see these pictures or not see the pictures, depending on how you want to read these books. Maybe you want to sit up there with the students, you want to read your book to your side, give all the students the information, allow them to look at the pictures, or maybe you want your students to close their eyes and you want to read the words to them, and you want to allow your students to make up their own story in their head, which is wonderful. But then you also have to think realistically about some of your students. Maybe they have processing, they can't hear you, they need to stay into the story and they need to see. So maybe giving that option to them that, I'm going to read this story. We're going to sit together. You can close your eyes and make the story in your head, or if you don't think you can do that, you can read the story with me and I will flip and I will take some time for you to see the pictures. So as a teacher, I think it's really, really important for you to continue to teach them using a literacy perspective. So reading and then a reading response using writing, or media literacy response is always wonderful, or an oral response. So there's tons of expectations that you can put in on um, these global issue classes. So I've obviously listed a bunch of resources, kindergarten to grade 6, underneath of this video. And I have allowed you just to kind of get a very, very baseline of poverty. So with all of my research, incorporating these things into the classroom, incorporating these global issues into the classroom is a hard thing for teachers. And some of it might be a touchy topic for many students or families. So just allowing to have that open circle of information, that communication between student, parent, teacher is always really important, because the learning doesn't stop. The learning does not stop when they leave your classroom. The learning does not stop when a student goes home or switches to physical education and goes to the gymnasium. The student is still thinking. They're still learning. They're still trying to understand these concepts that you've brought to them. And it's really important that you don't stop either. You continue learning on how to teach your students about these uh, many different global issues. So I'm glad that you joined us for our video today. I'll have a list of resources below. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I will leave my email down below. Um, I would love to see how this worked out in your classroom, and if you use the stuff, any feedback from me, that would be absolutely wonderful. So I will see you next video, where we will be talking about education and rights on education. See ya!